Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Janelle Lundy Roberts, and I have the pleasure of serving as Associate Dean for LMU Loyola Law School. If I could just get a thumbs up, you can see my screen that says Admissions and Financial Aid at LLS. Is that appearing okay? Nods. Okay, awesome. I'm going to go ahead and get started because we do anticipate that students from LLS will be joining us, and I want to make sure that we have plenty of time for you to ask questions of those students. Many of you know Loyola Law School. We have the same incredible social justice mission, the same commitment to ethical training for our lawyers. We're also known for having outstanding evening program. I'll talk a little bit more about that, as well as being incredibly diverse and student-centered. And so if I were to put all of those things that Loyola is, in terms of what people think about when LLS first comes to mind, this thought bubble gives just a glimpse of some of the things that people think about when they think about LMU Loyola Law School. Loyola is about 300 students in the entering class, and I'll talk a little bit more about the day and the evening. We have the same tremendous mission to really educate our students with a commitment to social justice, whether they intend to be a social justice warrior or an entertainment sports agent. We are completely committed to making sure that they are practiced in the realm of law. So what they're learning in the classroom is married by really terrific opportunities through our experiential learning programs to learn more about what it is to be an attorney. So when you see that 20 plus, that is the number of social justice clinics that we have on campus that are taking real cases. They are live client clinics, which is all seems like an oxymoron, but really emphasizes that our students are working with young adults, people who have been incarcerated wrongly, immigrant populations, unhoused populations, to really do advocacy for communities that can't afford traditional legal resources. That 100 is the 100 or so undergraduate schools that are represented in our community in any given entering year. And that 86th percentile is our placement rate. In the last few years, our placement rate has been from 86 to 90%. And so we are completely committed to making sure that you not only have the opportunity to have an outstanding legal education, but that you hit the ground running and are able to pass the bar and get a terrific job as your first opportunity after law school. As I mentioned, we have in the JD program both a full-time day and a part-time evening program. If anyone who has joined us is interested in our terrific LLM, MLS programs, you're welcome to join that breakout room at any time. Maura Bowden serves as our Associate Director of our graduate admissions, and she is an absolutely terrific representative of that community. For the JD program, our day cohort is divided into sections of 4. That means about 70 or 80 students per section, balanced by race, gender, and academic capability. And then our evening program, which is hybrid, one night a week on campus and one night that's virtual, really helps the working professional. So those students that may have an outstanding job, or maybe they have another commitment during the day that they don't have, that they're not able to end, so to speak. So they're taking care of parents, they're taking care of children, they're running their own businesses. And so that evening program is an excellent opportunity to earn your JD over 4 years, as opposed to the 3-year day program. Still have a full-time job or whatever it is during the day that is occupying your time. And again, still earn that JD program. And then the day program is a full-time program. Students should not work, they should not work, they should not work. So in that way, it is very similar to undergrad in that your complete focus is on attending classes 5 days a week, 3, 4, 5 hours a day, and then all of the study, homework, case briefing, legal noting, all the other academic requirements associated with that program. Although there are many paths, it's wonderful in our community that whether or not you are attending the JD program or a dual program or an LLM program, those classes are taught by an outstanding faculty group. They are legal experts in their fields. They're outstanding scholars, but they are absolutely teachers first in the classroom, and they are dedicated to our student community in really extraordinary ways. And if you ever talk to an LLS student, regardless of the program that they're attending, and you ask them what stands out about your experience, they're probably going to talk about the really rich opportunity that they have to be mentored and taught by our outstanding faculty. So that's a little bit about Loyola, and I can talk a lot more, and hopefully you will have an opportunity to visit us, see our campus in person. We are located about 2 miles from downtown Los Angeles, a really terrific opportunity for students to access the legal arena that is available through courts, through nonprofits, and through law firms, big law firms, medium law firms of all sizes. But I also want to spend a little bit of time on how you join us, because we know that prospective students interested in joining us for 25 are in the heart of that application process right now. So the application file from the perspective of the admissions committee are these two big pieces: the quantitative parts. Also, you can think about those as our numbers, and the qualitative parts. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about each of these pieces of the puzzle. And I like to remind students that they all work together. Oftentimes, students will say, what's the most important part of the application process? And it's really hard to answer that question because it's a both and process. We're looking for prospective students that offer as many pluses in these areas as possible, as opposed to what we know sometimes can appear to seem, oh, we're just looking at an LSAT, oh, we're just looking at a CUME GPA. Those things are important, but if you see from this list, there are all sorts of other things that the admissions committee is using to evaluate a prospective student file, and every single thing on this list is important. So it's really important to think about them as pieces working together. So a little bit more about the quantitative part. LSAT, we obviously, students, we take the LSAT or the GRE. In terms of the LSAT, we do recommend having a plan to take it once, doing your best, taking the exam once, hopefully getting the score that and depending on the program, general LSAT is fine for evening. It can be fine for day. As you get later for those exams for day, you're talking about a process that does become more competitive. In the GRE. The difference with the GRE is because of those sections, we get a percentile for each section. So every section counts. We see a lot of GRE scorers who will take the exam and have a 90 percentile in the verbal reasoning and then a 5 in the analytical writing. And that's really hard for us to assess. So if you are taking the GRE, it's important to remember that every part of the section of the GRE does count. If you are planning to take either the GRE or LSAT, make sure you're doing it because you really think that you can do better. You have a plan, a better study plan. You know, maybe something happened that you were sick, something unusual happened, and you are able to overcome that by retaking the exam. Please keep in mind that although we take the highest score, we do see all your scores. So every score that you take with the LSAT does appear on your pass report, and it's really important that you remember that. I'm just letting a few more people in. I think they're in. Okay, awesome. In terms of the other quantitative thing that we look at in terms of your file, all your grades matter. Your CAS report will have your cumulative GPA, but we will pay close attention to academic trends, the strength of your major. If you have graduate school degrees, those don't replace your undergraduate grades, but they are an important plus in your file that you can use to demonstrate additional academic experience. And when we say all grades count, we mean all grades count. Community college, if you had high school grades that contributed to your BA or your BS, those grades count as well. So please keep that in mind that we're going to really rely on all of your transcript information, and we get a copy of that with your CAS report. The qualitative pieces are a little bit more, take a little bit more time for us to go through. And for many of us, they're the best part of the file because it is the part where you have complete control over. So starting with the application form, you have some basic information that we are going to ask. For those of you who are not sure if you want to do day or evening, you can indicate your preference one or the other is your first choice and the second program is your second choice. Please keep in mind for LMU graduates and undergraduates, your fee is waived throughout the cycle. So if you need our help with that because you see that your fee is not waived, then please reach out to us. The personal statement is probably the thing in the file where we really look to know your story. And so it's really important in the same way you may have taken 6 weeks or 2 months to study for the LSAT, that you're putting in the appropriate time to write and craft a personal statement as well. It really is your opportunity to talk directly to the committee. And if you had to talk to them directly, what would you say? What's your story? What's your passion? Why are you interested in law? And then it's also really important that you are making sure that you are, as the expression goes, dotting all your I's and crossing all your T's to make sure it's a clean document, a clear document, it's concise, and it's professional. The personal statement gives us an opportunity to know your story, but you also have that option in optional statements. And one way to determine if you need those optional statements is to write your personal statement. And if you haven't included information like information on your background, your identity, why Loyola, then you can submit one or two or both of those optional statements, and they should complement your personal statement. We should not be reading the same information again. Instead, it should be new information because your personal statement maybe was about your brother was system impacted because he was pulled over. And so that is, that was the beginning of igniting a strong interest for you in law school. You may want to also submit a background identity statement of, oh, I'm interested in Loyola's criminal justice program. I know Loyola produces top litigators. I know they have an excellent criminal law concentration. So as long as the information isn't repetitive, it really is offering something new, a new piece to that puzzle that would be missing. If you had that puzzle made and you had a gap, then those optional statements are really intended for you to fill that gap if it's missing. So it really requires your kind of strict consideration of whether or not it offers information that's new to the committee on whether or not you should submit it. And then these two pieces also really important. I love a resume. A resume can tell me a student did work with a faculty member, graduated, #1 in their major, was president of Phi Alpha Delta, or their public or their child advocacy team. And so the resume can be a very nice complement to the personal statement as well. And then if you have something in your record, academic, your LSAT score, your GRE score, that you feel merits additional information, we strongly recommend that you submit an addendum. Brief is best. In my experience, the best addendum statements have been half a page to a page. So you're offering information, you're not complaining, you're not offering excuses. It's sort of like just the facts to help the committee offer or have the context in terms of what happened around that LSAT score or what happened around that academic quarter or semester. And these, again, can be really complements to the other pieces of your file. All of the qualitative documents are things we use, again, as pieces to tell your story, and they really are a substantial part of our evaluation of your file. Lastly, although these will come with your CAS, these are qualitative documents. Obviously, letters of recommendation, really important. Most important thing is evaluate your relationship with your letter writer. It doesn't have to be someone who has full professor in their title. If it's someone who knows you well, think about a faculty member that maybe has had you over 1-2 classes, maybe seen your growth from a sophomore to a senior. Those are really good people to consider. And you can also, of course, include a letter from someone you've worked with, internship, externship, student organizations. Those also can be great letters as well. This all comes together for the admissions committee, which is comprised of staff, faculty members, recent LLS alumni. The priority deadline for the day program is February 1st, for the part-time evening program, April 15th. We will start reading files next month, which is next week, which I can't believe it. But we're excited to get started on that process. And most of our files are read by at least 2 committee members. And so I am going to stop sharing for a second. because it would be great to see faces and see if there are any questions.